on now? That is. Thank you.
Okay. All right, you want me to turn it off or leave it on? Are you on? Welcome, everyone. I just want to thank you all for being here. So I call to order this meeting of the Kingman Unified School District at 6:01, June 14th at 2023. So let's stand for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we have a newly sworn in board member. Star Jensen was sworn in Mike Files' office on Monday, June 12th. So at this time, can I get a motion to proceed with an organizational meeting? Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. So item A was the swearing in, which she is already sworn in, and a newly appointed board member. We're so thankful to have her. For those of you guys who may not know, Star was on the ballot in November and was the fourth name to be elected. And so we are thankful to have her and her willingness to serve. Item B is the election of a board president for the remainder of the 2023 year, which is only, what, a month? 2 months? Oh, the whole calendar year. Okay. Well, that will work. I would like to nominate. Second. All right, so we have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you, guys. I appreciate your confidence. Thank you guys for your grace in my very first board meeting. So I thank you for that. Item C is the election of a vice president for the remainder of 2023. Second. All right, so we have a motion by Roger Cox to elect or to nominate Lori Grant as vice president, and a second by Star Jensen. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Vice President. All right, so then we will have an official, oh, we need to go back from the organizational meeting? No. Okay. All right, so then we will have a roll call for this meeting. Star Jensen? Here. Lori Grant? Here. Tony Henry? Here. And Roger Cox? Here. All right. And so now we will take a moment to recognize some retirees.
President Henry, congratulations and welcome to newly appointed Star Jensen. We thank you for running last fall and we're happy with the board's decision to invite you to the board.
Thank you.
And this time every year we like to pause and recognize some of our hardworking and dedicated employees who have made the amazing and wonderful decision to retire, something we all seek to do. Some of them are retiring and actually going off into life and having travel and new adventures and joy. And some of them are retiring and then walking out the door and back in to be a retired. But nonetheless, reaching retirement is an amazing accolade. So we will hand plaques to those who are in our presence this evening and to say a few words about them. And then I'll also mention those who couldn't be with us this evening. And I think I spotted most of these people. And I will start with Deborah Higby. Come on up. Deborah started caring for kids in 2012. You just stand right there by me. At Wallapai School, and you've been there ever since. Yeah. And at Surbat before that, but Wallapai has been the length. And Jerry Arvey has been the principal. You've been the administrative assistant to and the office manager for. And I can tell you, because I spend a lot of time at Wallapai, what an amazing job you do. An encyclopedia, right, Mr. Arvey, knows everything, trains everyone. And I've even walked in where you were the solo person in the office when we were between employees. You were able to be the attendance clerk and the greeter and sometimes the health attendant all at once. So it's no wonder you're wanting to retire. No, but yes. I don't know what we're gonna do without you in containing and controlling Mr. RV, but we will do our best. We're thinking about putting you on consultative services, right? And this is just a little bit of what happens in the Wallapai office. There's just great humor and joy among the working staff there, and part of that is because of you. And so, to Deborah Higbee, Administrative Assistant, in appreciation of your years of the trifocals are getting me. In appreciation of your years of dedicated service, devotion, and commitment to our students in Kingman Unified School District. Thank you for caring for kids since 2012. And there you go. And if I forgot, Jerry's usually my. There you go. And Board President, will you come up here with us? Round of applause for Deborah. Joellen Parnell. RSVP, but I did not see her yet. So Ellen has been working with Kingman Unified School District since 2003. She started at Mount Tipton. So Mr. Brandingham is following in her footsteps. She worked with Mr. Cumberledge at Mount Tipton way back in 2003. She's been at Desert Willow and Kingman Middle until now as a paraprofessional. And so we will make sure to get her plaque to her as well. We appreciate Joellen. Michelle Ross. Hi, Michelle. Since 2005, Michelle has been with us in your. Yes, another one who worked with Jerry RV. So you and Deb can share stories. Yeah, yeah. Means you're old. Since 2005, and you've been there the entire time. And I was curious, so I had to count 7 principals you trained.
No, I just had a hand, a little bit of a hand at that.
7. So working with middle school students for all of those years, and every time anyone has ever walked into Kingman Middle School, you know that Michelle is the go-to for a smile and to be helpful, right, Karen? And you've just done an incredible job. You will be so missed, and thank you so much. And I read yours. They're similar, but you still get your own reading. Okay. Michelle Ross, in appreciation of your years of dedicated service, devotion, and commitment to our students in Kingman Unified, thank you for caring for kids since 2005. Okay. And if you stay there. Okay. And you can always come back when you get bored.
I have 6 grandchildren.
6 grandchildren, that is awesome. My friend Margaret Stevenson, please come on up. Margaret and I came to the district the same year. Well, I was a paraprofessional, but we started teaching the same year, 91, 92, right? She started when she was 5 years old. Yes. She was so great in the kindergarten. They just transitioned her to teacher. Then Kingman Junior High School, which kind of dates a little bit too, because it's been Kingman Middle for a while. And then became an English teacher at Kingman High School, where she eventually became the department chair. And she was dubbed with the affectionate name. I don't know if you gave it to yourself or they assigned you the name of Guru. You would have Guru meetings and just do an incredible job with leading the English department at Kingman High. When I joined Lee Williams the second year to grow the new high school in town, Margaret was one of the handful of teachers that came over. So we spent 6 years together at Lee Williams High School, where she grew the Cambridge program and the English department on that campus, before being dragged out of the classroom and over to the district office so she could impact accelerated learning programs across the district. So she's now the advanced learning coordinator for us. And we're excited to announce that we are reaching accelerated programs all the way down into preschool through 12th grade. And they're on many of our campuses now with the goal to be on all of them at some point. So we really appreciate, this is the good news. Congratulations on retiring. Thank you. And welcome back. Yes, Margaret Stevenson, Special Programs Coordinator, Advanced Learning Coordinator, in appreciation of your years of dedicated service, devotion, and commitment to our students in Kingman Unified School District, caring for kids since 1991 and continuing on. Thank you. Let's just go ahead and do an official. Let's see if this person can beat that. It's close. Let's see. Karen Wendell. Not far off. Come on up, Karen. 1995 in Golden Valley. We've had quite a few people start their adventure with Kingman Unified at Black Mountain. And again, like Kingman Junior High kind of dates you, Golden Valley, right? It changed to Black Mountain School at some point. This is Karen Wendell, and she started, like I said, in 1995, Golden Valley, and then it transitioned to Black Mountain. You moved to Kingman Middle School in 2006. I think that's the year our oldest graduated, right? We have kids who graduated high school together. When you've been in a community as long as us, you just know everybody. And that's where you've been the boss of the school. I counted for you 10 principals, 10 leaders, 10 leaders that have come through under your tenure, and you trained them all well, and we appreciate you for that. And I think, which one? Christina Weaver, the current principal. You probably almost thought about not retiring after you got to know her, huh? So I'm sure, yeah. It's a tug of war for Karen, but all of us in this room could agree that when your first grandchild is born, you gotta go. Well, I mean, I have 8, so I'm on the go all the time, but yours is back east, mine are closer by. So we are just so thankful for all of the years you've given us, and we're so happy that you get to, what's the baby's name? Claire, you get to spend time with her. Karen Wendell, Administrative Assistant, in appreciation of your years of dedicated service, devotion, and commitment to our students in Kingman Unified. Thank you for caring for kids since 1995. I forgot to say that she's the most fiscally responsible employee. She's got guard of the supply closet at Kingman Middle like nobody's business. You don't get a piece of paper unless you need it. So watch your budget now, Christina. Jane Van Riper. Please forgive me. Is it a Rip Riper? Okay, I was correct. Thank you, Jane, for coming up. You started, you came to us a little bit
I did.
closer to the present, because is this your second or?
This would have been, I started in March of 2020.
Yeah, 1920.
This is actually my 28th year.
What did you do prior to coming to us?
Middle school mostly,
Middle
up in Alaska and in California.
Awesome. So you gave your last few years to us, and I've just heard the most wonderful things about you, about being approachable and having fidelity to the job and commitment, and that you're just really, truly going to be missed. And we're grateful for the few years we had. And again, if you get bored, come on back. I will. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Jane, in appreciation of your years of dedicated service, devotion, and commitment to our students and the other students in your 28 years prior, thank you for caring for kids since 2020 here and since the beginning of your tenure in education. Thank you so much. Here you go. Thank you. Did anyone else come that we didn't have on our list? So the other retirees, we want to just send into the universe, and it's being broadcast so they can watch it later. A huge thank you to Helen Begay, a special education secretary at several sites here in Kingman. She helped keep those special education meetings and logs and calendars going and did a tremendous job. Deanna Cody, who's a retiree hire, who we just adore, Deanna and her husband, down at the Sandy McCoy Positive Alternative Campus. Can't be with us this evening, but she's done just so many amazing things too. She's a reading teacher and a reading specialist, and she started some amazing programs through Title I at Kingman High, and then she's kept that stride going down at this Sandy McCoy campus. Timothy Frank, a bus driver, started in 2015. We are always very grateful for our bus drivers. The wheels on the bus, they go round and round, get those kiddos to our campuses safely so that we can educate them and then get them home. Austin Mayberry, also from the transportation department, is the safety trainer. He works with all bus drivers to make sure that we are in compliance with our safety procedures and that those routes do happen without incident. Rick Olivas has been teaching PE at Surbat since 1992. And before that, he was the student body president at Manzanita when I was in 4th grade and he was in 6th grade. So he's been in our district forever too. And I'm sure Surbat will miss Mr. Olivas. If you think about it, over 30 years of students have had him for PE on that same campus. So I'm sure everywhere he goes in town, it's a, hey, Mr. Olivas. Brent Potter and Jennifer Potter are the counselor and special programs coordinator of the Sandy McCoy Positive Alternative Campus, and they have earned their retirement, and they are off to some amazing adventures. They are going to come back just a short bit and help train some folks, Brent for one, or Trevor for one, on the campus, and we're very grateful for that return. They're going to be moving out of state and having some wonderful adventures. But I will tell you, these two and the whole team down at Sandy McCoy are visionaries. They are quietly doing the business that needs to be done to make sure students have a pathway to graduation. And I think this year they graduated well over 100 students. Jill, do you know the number? 110. I knew it had hit the 100 mark through a mentorship and a personalized pathway opportunity for the kids. So we are going to just soak them of all of the great information they have in the little bit of time we have left with them. Alan Rudier, a mechanic with transportation since 2006. Again, you see the importance of that transportation team. We have the mechanics, the safety trainers, and the drivers all working together. So I'm sure Tandy will miss that trio. Sheila Summers Scalia, the teacher at Wallapai since 2013, is starting new adventures. She's participated in our meet and defer process. She's an integral part of the Wallapai campus, and we will miss her. Jean Thurman has been teaching first grade kindergarten since 2001. And so she's had enough of sticky fingers and runny noses, and she's going to try some new things, and she will be missed. And then finally, Peggy Toscas, a school counselor. We all know how valuable our counselors are, and Peggy just has a heart of gold for working with kids and walking alongside them and providing them with that support so they can focus on their academics. So congratulations to all of our retirees, and welcome back to our rehires. Thank you.
Thank you. I love the personal accounts of their service time, and we do give our deepest appreciation for your retirement and best wishes for your future. At this time, we will move to the call to the audience. I do have some orange slips here. I just want to remind you that the board can listen to your comments from the public, but we will not be able to respond except as permitted by ASR 38-431-0.01. The board may refer the item to the administration or request to have it placed on a future agenda. And so first I have Megan Sprunt to speak about uniforms. And if you'll get close to the microphone, it'll pick you up better.
Is it moved or is it attached?
Can you hear me?
Yes, it's green.
Oh, okay, great.
I wanted to speak on the uniforms. I heard that today on the agenda, we were going to be discussing making the uniform shirts optional in KUSD. I believe that the pros of having uniform shirts far outweigh any cons. And in my following statement, I will attempt to explain a few of the positive effects of keeping the uniform shirts for the students of KUSD. Firstly is no dress coding. At least no dress coding in a way that harms students. Policing bodies has been shown to have negative effects on teenagers. And when all students are in crew neck t-shirts and polos, no one is at risk. This protects both the students and the administrators. Students don't need to play any kind of administrative roulette over which teacher is going to be okay with this shirt because everybody's wearing the same thing. Admin don't run into any kind of hangups or any risks that we see blasted all over social media. We don't want this for our students. And it's uncomfortable to see a full-grown man tell a teenage girl that what she's wearing is distracting to him. And it puts our teachers at risk for sexual harassment allegations. We don't run into that if we keep the dress code shirts. There would still be a dress code, right? Even if we get rid of the uniform shirts, there's still gonna be rules. So if there's gonna be rules, we should make them as simple as possible to follow. Either you're wearing a shirt or you're not, and that's the rule. I asked all three of my students, all three of my kids, and they're students in KUSD, both in middle school and at elementary school, ages 12, 11, and 9, if they wanted to keep their shirts, and they all said yes. Now they have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to get ready for school, and one of their biggest things was, it's easy to get ready in the morning. I don't have to think about what I'm gonna wear. I know I'm gonna wear a school shirt, and I just pick a pair of pants and we're out the door. They also said it was more fun for spirit days. If we get to wear whatever we want every day, then where's my free dress day? What am I looking forward to? They were also the ones to point out the likelihood of students being ostracized for what they wear. If they're wearing something that's not popular or that doesn't fit in, they pointed out that they're gonna get made fun of, and they didn't want that for people. Also, in terms of being ostracized, any of our non-binary students are gonna be able to fit in with these clothes because they're so gender neutral. Everybody could fit in with this uniform. I've heard people say that it's cost prohibitive, but I don't find that to be the case. One, you only need 4 shirts to get through the year. I could not convince my child to wear the same 4 shirts for 10 months every week, but I can do it with a school uniform shirt because everybody's wearing the exact same shirt. It's really easy. And I can pass them down from student to student. I'm running on 3 students on the same navy blue polo. I can pass it through, even between my son to my daughter and then back to my son. But I tell you what, if I tried to get my daughter to wear my son's Adidas shirt, it would not fly. Or to get my son to wear his older sister's shirt. It'd never happen, but they can't even tell. And then the option to find cheaper shirts or a nicer quality shirt. I've heard the complaint that, well, these are really scratchy or they're really boxy. There is already an option to find a solid color crew neck t-shirt and just get the logo printed on. So that's available for students, especially if you have any kind of sensory issues, you can find a shirt that fits within the special needs student sensory issues and still fits in the dress code. I feel that the option, making it an option, which is what we're talking about here, really only moves the argument from here's a simple rule to an argument between a parent and a child at home every single day. Making it an option is tantamount to doing away with it entirely.
Thank you. Next, we have Elsie Brentingham, also one, Elise, my apologies, on speaking on uniform shirts as well.
Yes. Now I was kind of listening. This is for the computer. Am I good right here?
Yes.
Okay. Meg Sprunt right before me was so eloquent and she took so many great notes that now I'm a little, gosh, I didn't really take notes. So I'm going to kind of piggyback on some of the things that she said that I definitely agree with, and then other angles that I have within my own family. One thing to start off first, I am very pro keeping the uniform shirts. Making the small change of saying optional, just like Meg had said, is cause for so many more problems in my opinion, because you're leaving it in this really gray area of what we're going to do. Whereas keeping them or getting rid of them completely makes the rule a lot simpler and easier to follow. Saying optional also leaves a huge portion of our community at risk for bullying, because what if that is the more financial choice to have the uniform shirt? What if it is easy to pass it down through the kids? What if that is the financial decision that they have to make for their family, but then every single other person in their classroom is wearing the latest and greatest? So in our district, we have so much freedom that we're already giving the students with the shoes they wear, the jewelry, the shorts. I mean, even with the uniform shirt, I've got one boy in middle school who could care less and would probably wear the same clothes, even if it wasn't the uniform. But then I do have a daughter that goes crazy even when she's just given the choice of shorts. So I feel like no matter what the choice is, if you've got kids into the trends and things, they have those ways to express themselves, because we don't have a strict uniform policy from head to toe. So I know a lot of the argument is that getting rid of the shirt allows for a lot of self-expression, whereas I disagree. I think they have a lot of expression that they're able to have within the realms that we've given it. Whereas you take that boundary off and you're opening up the floodgates for all these different things. My biggest thing that I keep coming back to is the fact that it puts so many people in a gray area rather than the black and white. In our climate, we have so many different political views, religious views, all of those things. Right now, all of our teachers and our administrators are the ones that we really essentially should be protecting. They're extremely safe to say, you need to put on a uniform shirt versus you have to take that off. That's inappropriate. And then opening it to, well, you're just saying that because that's, you know, you're against that political view, or you're against my freedom of speech, or it opens it up to so much more of a tug and pull of an argument that exposes a lot of personal views or political views that our teachers or administrators might have. And it puts them in really uncomfortable positions. I think at the end of the day, the board is here for the protection of the students and the staff. And something as simple as it's just, we're doing the shirt. There's no other black and, you know, no other gray area around it. It essentially keeps everyone safe. I know a lot of the argument too is the finances. Online, there was kind of a back and forth about how expensive and things like that. And I definitely am watching my pennies right along with a lot of people. I've got 4 kids that'll be in the district that I'm having to dress. Like Meg, I have passed my daughter, don't tell her, but her older brother's shirts have gone to her. It really helps. And with River Rock, I've been so impressed with how quickly they turn around on their timetables and how flexible they are. I was really bothered, which I have followed it profusely. I want to say that principal of Kingman Middle School. But at first, I was really bothered about the sweatshirts. At Kingman Middle, she makes it very specific. I don't know if it's the Cambridge or the whole school, but with my son, it was very specific. You have to wear a sweatshirt that has a school logo on it. Now, I am very impressed because every time I see that school, there's a huge percentage of kids that have a logo on their sweatshirt. I was really bothered about the pricing. I thought, well, this seems really silly to pay this much for a sweatshirt that I can get at Old Navy for $10. I went to River Rock and she was the one that suggested, just get it in the same color, bring it to me, I'll put the logo on. And just like Meg was saying, if there are issues, as long as it's in the color realm, the people are willing to work with you. And it was only like $1.50 to get them to put the logo on the sweatshirt for my son. Now, if that is not a school policy, you have to know my son. He would have taken it as a black and white issue. So I just want to say if that wasn't, and he just totally worked me and I bought him the sweatshirt. I don't know, but it worked. And it was a great financial option for me. And I loved the flexibility that they gave. I know there was a lot of problems with Lee closing down and where are we going to get the shirts? River Rock literally came through in spades. I've used them for other events, major last minute timelines that they've been able to reach and things like that. I think if that's the problem, that's a small thing that we really could work with some people in the community. I mean, heck, I'm seeing a business opportunity and I'd be willing to jump on it. However, I think essentially my biggest thing is the safety of our staff, our administrators, and our students. And keeping it a black and white issue is going to make it easier for everyone. And honestly, less work than trying to create the new dress code that would include all of those other categories. Thank you.
And then we have Wallace Alexander also speaking on the dress code.
Good evening. So I want to do some clarification really fast. I am in charge of the Cambridge program at King Middle School, and it is a Cambridge policy that they must wear a school shirt, jacket, any outer clothing, because I don't want to fight arguments about appropriate, inappropriate. So yes, he did not tell you a story or lead you astray. That is our team policy, and We've enforced the dress code for 10 years now, and we never have any issues after the first day of school with that. And that's really what I want to speak about is that as a male educator, I would appreciate if y'all did not put me in a position of having to tell young ladies that they need to go change their attire. To think that it puts them in an awkward position to have that conversation with me. And it puts me in an awkward position to have that conversation. I can't always go to my counterparts and say, hey, could you please go ask Sally to do something about her clothing? So like, if you keep that in mind when you make your decision, that would be fantastic. And also from the youngin' standpoint, we have a very broad social and economic divide in our community. Right? We have extremely poor families, and we have families who don't lack for anything. And the school shirt allows that equity within our classrooms. If you can't tell if a youngin' has been wearing the same shirt for 4 days because all the shirts look alike, right? Whereas if we didn't have school shirts, right? Sometimes like I'm colorblind, and so I wear the same shirt, right? I wash it and I wear it again, and I have no clue I'm wearing. They're like, "Mr. Alexander, didn't you wear that shirt yesterday?" Oh, good. Right? But they can make fun of me. I'm cool with that. But if I was a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader, like that would not make me feel very good about myself or about the position my family is in. And so I think the school shirts keep that balance and keep their minds focused on the education that they're supposed to be receiving from us, and not on whether the peers are going to realize that they're wearing the same clothes over and over again. And, you know, I teach middle school, and they're all about expression. And let me tell you, they find plenty of ways to express themselves in the school shirts. Because I teach I'm the Cambridge program, and we never have kids out of dress code, never have kids in non-school shirts, and it has never been an issue. In fact, if I have a young who comes without a shirt, because it's a school shirt, I have plenty in my closet that say, hey, go put the shirt on so that I ain't gotta talk to you. And they do. And that having the standardized clothes, nobody knows the kid got shirt from me. Right. But if I only have 3 shirts in my closet, the same kids wear the same 3 shirts, right? Then kids know that, oh, Mr. Alexander is providing a shirt for you. And then it gets a little awkward for them. And so I would just ask those are things you should take into consideration when you make the decision, right? About how it would impact your male teachers and maybe some of your female teachers, but your male teachers especially in the environment that we operate in, but also how it would impact the young ones who come from the Birdland area or come from other areas who have no other options. In fact, that's why they wear them on the weekend. That's why I see so many KMS shirts at Walmart on Saturday because it's the home clothing they got. And that's not going to change because you make them optional. Right, that is going to be their life, and it's just going to be a stick out even more than that. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. And then we have one more from Nancy, speaking on the books that we have for approval today.
My name is Nancy Inglesby, and I'm a resident here in Kingman. And obviously, I don't have any children left in school. My youngest is 62. But I did get involved because of some other people that were telling me about the books that are being considered for purchase here in Kingman. And there are 2 books that concern me very much. I'm a reader. I've read all my life. I have a little book nook in my own home. And I know that books have meant so much to me. So many books have inspired me to be better than I thought I was, to work hard and to do things. I think 2 books that are under consideration are more damaging to our children than anything else. My friend Regina Talmadge has also gone to read the books. Unfortunately, she's in San Diego tonight with one of her children graduating. So she was very concerned about Ready Player One. There's so much violence in the book. It concentrates on blowing things up, on guns, on a virtual brothel. That she feels that's really not the kind of literature that inspires and makes better people out of our children. The one I'm concerned about is Warm Bodies. And I really cannot say how absolutely appalled I was to read this book. It is the story of a zombie who forms a relationship with a human. And there are many ways that maybe could have been right, but it didn't turn out in the book to be exactly what it should be. And I don't know how graphic I can be here with what that book says, but I want to tell you there were some graphic things in there that were very disturbing to me. And mainly the one that was as bad, and I will not tell you the actual graphic language, but when the zombie thinks to himself as he's going to meet his human friend, she doesn't know I ate her friend. She doesn't know I carry a slice of his premium slice of his brain in my pocket. I was told by one of the teachers that, well, in the end, it's a good ending. But I didn't think we aspired anymore to the means, can come out with the outcome. I thought we felt with Dr. Bengali that we kind of passed that on and didn't do that anymore. Some of you may not know who Dr. Bengali is, but anyway. I don't care how good the ending is. And the concern I have is, as someone who's probably older than anyone in the room, I have sat and seen what's going on in our public schools. And it has just been so heartbreaking to me when you see children, and they were children, who can go into a Uvalde school, who can go into Nashville, and who can look innocent little elementary children in the eye as they shoot them, then there's something wrong here. We are doing something wrong with our children because those people are dehumanized. And if there is anything that Warm Bodies does, it dehumanizes our children. It makes us think that other fellow human beings are not worthy of our consideration. So I urge you to not purchase either of these books. And I urge the teachers to find inspiring books. As when I went in for the novel committee, you have a wonderful history teacher here, and I don't remember his name, but he brought forward a wonderful book that can be an inspiration for his students. And he explained how he intended to use that book. And, it's the memoirs of two Rosie the Riveters. And if I hadn't been 5 years old when the war was on, maybe I would have become Rosie the Riveter. But I always thought that was such a wonderful thing to be Rosie the Riveter. This book says the black and the white of it, what the good and the bad. And the fact that those Rosie the Riveters probably helped us win the war. And then they went home to discrimination and do all sorts of things. And I stand here at 84 years old and tell you I have lived through working against discrimination in women. I used to travel a lot in my, younger years for my job. And it was people like me and the Rosie the Riveters probably that stopped people at desks in hotels from saying, here you are in the single suite and you're in room 204. Little things like that matter. But that book is probably going to inspire the children in that history teacher's class. And I hope you will share my concern that we need to find books that inspire and make our students be better people and more well-adjusted people.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very
I
much.
ask you.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you. All right, at this time, do I ask if there is anyone else who did not fill out a slip but wanted to address the board? Is that appropriate?
I just also
Please.
want to piggyback on her comments.
Please, will you tell us your name?
My name is Frida Bat. I am a little bit, I do not agree with the book, Ready Player One being available for students. First of all, there's a lot of bad words in that book, and there's a lot of things that are not okay for the kids to be reading or getting inspired from. Do you guys feel comfortable if I read all the bad words right now? Would you feel comfortable with that? Because all of these words are the words that our students are gonna be reading. If you guys feel uncomfortable with me reading it, we should feel uncomfortable with them reading it. They said, ass, broke ass. Should I continue? I think that's a lot of words. I just don't feel comfortable saying them, and I don't feel comfortable reading them to you.
Yes, you don't
So,
need to. We
I
understand.
feel that the kids should not be reading this kind of books. If we don't feel comfortable with that, they shouldn't be okay with that. As a professional, I feel like there's a lot better books for them to read and books that are gonna inspire through their lives. There's so many good literature,
You're okay.
out there that we can choose from. If you guys consider and pay attention to the words that these books bring with it, and the whole idea of exploding things, shooting things, it's just not okay for a kid to be getting that into their early brains and learn from it. I just want it to be clear. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll receive a report from our superintendent, Dr. Dorner.
Brief comments. First of all, we really appreciate the public. That's positive. Yes. You can put forth a book for consideration. We're very happy to have people read it. So on me, I'm gonna feel discouraged or nervous about it. One of the one thing. The second piece is the Human Summary Program is up and running. There's an IPA that the funding mechanism and the self-review roads how to get accolades to our transportation department and our SSC personnel who at the drop of a hat are new team and brings clean for the dumpster. This started a whole other materials. First the place up. I'm giving accolades to SSC and our transportation department. Thank you, IT. I told you I'd turn it on when you looked at me. And we signed up when we did our registration, and it's not just KUSD, it's the entire community. We had 160 kids immediately sign up. We started a waiting list, and we've added the waiting list kids in as soon as we can. We have staff down there. We're open from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. It's free of cost to the kids and the families who are participating. And if I were to mathematically calculate, we know that the average cost of daycare right now is approximately $150 per student per week. It's extraordinarily expensive. And so if we, a family of 2 kids in that program during the 7 weeks of the summer, that's 3 times 7, that's $2,100 savings for that family, where they can put it into their family's economics versus daycare. So we're really excited to be collaborating with Mojave County for this summer, and we'll keep you apprised of what we can do to collaborate with community members going forward. The third piece of information is that we've been in an IGA with Peach Springs for a very long time. They did not have comprehensive high school for years in the Peach Spring area. And so we would transport students from Peach Springs primarily to Kingman High, and sometimes the middle school. so they could have a bricks and mortar education, if you will. But in the last couple of years, they've opened Music Mountain School, and it's becoming extraordinarily successful. We're super proud of our neighbor district. And due to that, I received a letter from the superintendent of that district saying they no longer need an IGA with Kingman. We've been tracking our enrollment where we at one time would have 70 students at Kingman High, give or take, who were coming in from that area. It's a super early morning bus ride and a super late delivery home. And now we're down to a handful. We have 2 seniors next year, and obviously if they want to finish out their time at Kingman High, we'll invite that. But it will be on an open enrollment or attendance exception basis now, not transportation of Kingman Unified into, or Peach Springs into Kingman Unified. So we wish them the best. That's it.
Thank you. That. And then from the board, you may have noticed that there are only 4 of us sitting here. We had Dr. Roger Jacks's retirement last month. He skedaddled quite quickly, but we will take time in the future to recognize his service to the school district and to this board. And then Beth Weiser told the board that she would be resigning in the very near future and put a date of sometime in July. And so it was a decision of a board at a public meeting a couple of weeks ago to open up that spot to receive letters from the community, people who might be interested in filling that vacancy. They can submit a letter to the board secretary, and then at the July meeting, they would come and address the board, and we would hear what they might have to say and what they would be able to add to the board. And then we would potentially go into executive session and choose someone from that list at that point or at a very near date. But we don't want the vacancy to go too long into the future, considering we have a new school year starting. So it has been posted on the Kingman Unified School District's website. It's posted outside, and there is an ad running in the Standard newspaper starting today, and it will be in the Minor on Sunday. And so we look forward to someone from our community who is interested in serving alongside of us for the remainder of Ms. Weiser's term.
President Henry, the 2 folks who submitted letters and interest already, do they need to resubmit? Did we let them know, or are they already on your list?
I think we already have them on our list. No one would need to resubmit at this point. All right, so we will move on to the approval of the routine orders of business, documentation concerning the matters of the consent agenda can be reviewed as always here at the Kingman Unified District office. And any board member may request an item to be pulled off the agenda for further discussion if desired. Is there any discussion or item to be pulled from the board? I'll make the motion. Oh, okay. Thank you. My apologies for missing that consent agenda removal of Don Brazy from the consent agenda. You were gonna make the motion to approve the consent agenda. So we have a motion from Lori Grant to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? And we have a second from Roger Cox. All in favor? Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Thank you. So that will take us to item 9, which is a change to regulation of JICA-R in the student dress code. Item A, uniform shirts will be optional. And is there any discussion from the board?
And then I will share public input as well if you, when you're ready for it.
Well, let's have you share first,
Okay.
and then maybe that will help us.
So, good afternoon. I'm just gonna share what I sent to the KUSD all, and then I'll abbreviate a lot of it so it doesn't take time. After much consideration and several conversations over the years with school administration, reviewing data from the 21-22 school uniform committee, consideration of vendor availability, we are looking at recommending school shirts as optional beginning 23-24. This is a summary, and I put it as a discussion item, even though it's a regulation, because we wanted to hear calls to the public. We want to hear what the board has to say. And I wanted a chance to gather information from people who wanted to submit emails. In speaking with school principals at the end of the year, 8 out of 10 that were surveyed support making standardized apparel optional, citing management of the regulation as a key factor. They cite current allowance for coats. If you remember, and I'll do a history in a minute, but coats and outerwear are allowed by any student at any time. Allowance for coats, jackets, and other outerwear makes shirts underneath seem obsolete. Parent concerns regarding supply, demand, increasing costs have come into the district office pretty regularly. One school principal surveyed felt very strongly and said that the staff also did in retaining standardized apparel, citing potential difficulties in monitoring the dress code, staff buy-in, and some of the similar points that were shared by our call to the audience. One principal prefers the standardized apparel regulation when stock is available, but sort of seemed understanding about what was happening. There are currently only 3 really active vendors. 2 carried limited quantities. We called them. They might carry 10 to 15 per size. There are some vendors, as was mentioned, that are more flexible and willing to go the extra mile and add logos to things. We had one vendor that we've tried for several weeks to get an answer. They don't. A 4th vendor is willing to sell shirts, but doesn't have a storefront and says that he will meet the parents in a parking lot, which doesn't seem safe to me at all. The largest provider, as most of us know, closed. We had a lot of calls. That's really what got the conversation going again this spring. I mean, we have as many people as we had wonderful arguments this evening calling us with equally convincing arguments on the other side. And when I say argument, I mean pro and con debates. Last spring survey results were mixed. It has continued to be mixed for the last few years. So I wanted to just review the history since the entire board is new to this topic. School mandated shirts, the idea of it was brought forth by a school board member in 2007. I worked for the district at the time, I remember it well. The original discussion included a combination of wanting to increase school spirit and then making sure you could identify those who were on campus that may not belong. Originally, the shirts, the inventory was controlled by the schools. They very quickly went out to public vendors because schools couldn't keep up with it. I remember Kingman Junior High School, they had a little shirt shop and they were just constantly, it took a lot of manpower to try to make them, maintain them, sell them, and keep the funds. So it went to the vendor. It was approved in June of 2007. Board minutes cite that admin created the regulation. Students were expected to wear school shirts and school outerwear. Students were not allowed to attend class without a school shirt. Parents were to be called when students did not wear the shirt. Club shirts were only allowed on Fridays. We were a 5-day school. The original decision only included middle and high schools. Elementary was added later. Due to difficulty in enforcing a standardized dress code, and there were some legal opinions, and if you do legal research on this, dress codes are very hard. We've been told by our lawyer, because we've had this come before the board before, if this were to enter into a legal battle, we will very likely not win the conversation of school uniforms. We've been fortunate to have it supported as well as we have over the years, but that has been declining significantly in recent years. So due to that difficulty in enforcing the standardized dress code, specifically outerwear, subsequent conversations over the years, probably in the 2000 teens, decided to allow outerwear permissible during cold weather. Then that turned into a debate on how admin or teachers could monitor weather, class temps, and then become the judge and jury of it's cold in here, it's not cold in here, you should or should not have it on. I've been a school principal at an elementary and at a high school. I've walked this path. I know what it's like. I get the perspective on some family side, but I also very intimately know the perspective from an administrator side, and I understand why 8 out of 10 of them are saying the school shirts have run their course. Doesn't mean I'm all about, if you know me from Lee Williams, I'm all about school shirts, school spirit, and everybody having a shared experience and doing the same thing. But for administrators, and I see Mr. Alexander's point, we did get an email from another male teacher about not putting them in uncomfortable positions. There's a lot around this debate. The current dress code policy regulation spring, March of 2022, 1 year ago, said, well, not just cold weather, you can wear outerwear and you can wear sweatshirts anytime you want. Middle schoolers and high schoolers will wear sweatshirts in 108 degrees in August to avoid having the school shirts in. So I would disagree in some of the comments that you can walk on any campus and it is all shirts all the time. I have been on all the campuses. I'm on them regularly and you can barely tell there's a dress code on many of the campuses. That's just a fact. I appreciate that the Cambridge program at Kingman Middle is able to control it. That's where optional is working for you. But it's not working at most of the campuses. So then I asked for people to feel free to respond. So I'm not gonna read everyone's email. I'll just give you the highlights. The first response was love it. The second one was good afternoon. As a first grade teacher, I would agree the shirts need to be optional. So many times I've sent a child to get a school shirt. They're not available. The parent won't bring it. Students tell me they don't have a washer or money to get shirts. They wear the same shirt over and over to the point where it's so filthy and it becomes obvious. And then it kind of negates the point that it levels the playing field. You can tell who doesn't have shirts. They're not washed, they're worn out, they have holes in them, and they're filthy. It's not every kid on every campus, but it's just the other side of that debate. I want to reach out in support of the decision to make school shirts optional by eliminating the requirement for school shirts. We're able to focus on instructional needs at the beginning of every class. This is a teacher versus what the student is wearing. If I've been given a nickel every time I heard you're the only teacher, and this is a Kingman Middle School teacher, you're the only teacher who gets after me about this, I'd be able to retire. Hey, here's one. I prefer uniform attire for several reasons, but did not expand on why. Here's another. I'm all in favor of making school shirts optional. Thank you for bringing this issue to the board. Yes, exclamation point. I'm in favor of this. I'm happy to hear that our formally district approved apparel will be considered optional. This person is actually in favor of uniforms. So they like the word optional, but I would agree optional does tend to imply that it's not necessary. I like that the language will encourage my students. For much of the year, there is no outerwear. This is a first grade teacher. Kids look forward to the Spirit Day and they're really happy when they get to wear it. So that mimics or mirrors what we heard tonight. If we can't enforce the current policy, which is clear cut that shirts must be worn, how will we ever enforce a dress code where there are so many open areas? Right now, a teacher sees a student without a uniform, it's clear cut. Does not matter if it's male or female. Since the school shirt, it's just school shirt that they're not wearing. If we do not have that now, we go back to males being accused of harassment. I would also point out that we had a call that some female students feel like it's biased toward males for the reason that was cited, that it's a boxy male cut shirt and females are forced to wear in what some of them feel is a male cut shirt and they don't have an option to a female shirt. So if we were to stay with them, I think that would be a major consideration. Here's another. I don't usually weigh in on the dress code, but I think it's fine and there's nothing wrong with it. Enforcing school shirt usage has always been troublesome. Some teachers do and some don't. I was always too hard. Do I fight them or just let it go? I'm a rule follower, so I always fought it. It felt like a losing battle every year. I'm all for making them optional. I'm fully in favor of this decision and hope you hear positive thoughts from my fellow employees. Thank you for making this happen. This is good news. Since Lee's closed, my family has wondered where they were going to get high school shirts for next year. The other businesses are sketchy and some never open their shop. I understand the difficulty parents had with getting school shirts last year, but I feel as though the policy should stay. I want to share my thought as a mom. It seems strange that I would have an issue with a kindergartner, but I have to fight my child to wear her school shirt. She likes to pick out her clothes. As a mom of 3 kids in the district from 3 different schools, I want to bring up an issue I see that is a problem. The list giving out of shirts is not accurate. There are several places that are not available. Silly Cactus and Bullhead is one. I've spoken with the owner. It's becoming too difficult. Please do away with the shirts as parents. Most of them don't get it. Another one said that it might seem like cost saving to some families, but her children will not wear them on the weekend, so she has to buy 2 sets. She has to buy a school set of shirts and then a non-school set of shirts, so she said it doubles the cost for the family. So you can see, it's a debate, the principals and the feedback I've had far more lean toward making it optional than not. But I do want to hear from the school board. I'll remind you that it's a regulation, not a policy. Policy is voted on by board. Regulation is something that the superintendent and the team sets in place as long as it falls under the regulation of the policy. And I would love to hear your opinions at this.
Yeah. So I've heard both sides, and being a mom, I strongly believe in the standardized clothing. So, and also it's easy, it's convenient. You're not having to fight with your kids. But I also hear the side that with Lee's closing, there isn't access. And so I just wanted to bring up possibly another option is to make it where it's just, because the thing is a school mandated shirt. So what if it was a solid colored shirt, either a t-shirt or a polo or a woman's cut shirt in the school colors that they're going to. So that way it takes out the concerns about having to police so much as, or whether or not it's appropriate or if it's inappropriate, because it is standardized. You could even add to the policy that it can't be modified so that you don't have to worry about it being cut or, you know, having Cricket logos applied to it. Just another option to consider, because I do hear the side that, you know, having it equalizing and kind of equalizing the playing ground does help a lot of these students not stick out.
Anyone else? Yes, Madam President. Having been there and dealt with this, it's kind of like a two-edged sword. And I was thinking, what if we looked at K-6 for school shirts? Kindergartners, I know at Black Mountain, they have the red and the blue shirts. I could always tell when that kindergartner was out of place immediately. The bus drivers even could tell. If we could keep them in those clothes, because that's when they go outside, they tear their clothes. I tell you, picture days is a nightmare because the kids are all dressed up, look nice, and you let them go out to recess and tear the clothes and stuff. And it becomes an issue. And if we're dealing with that all year long, it's going to detract from other things. And yet I could see the middle school, having been at Black Mountain with middle school and having taught high school with that, I could see a different set of rules. And also, they're so adamant about it. It gives them quality writing assignments. You know, if you could change something, what would it be? And some of the best writing's been out of the uniform shirts. So
The students are saying, writing, get rid of the uniform shirts.
both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah, it's a good thing. We're talking elementary, you know, and that's really a good skill to take with you to the upper grades. Thank you.
So, Lori, Ms. Brand, what are you talking about with, didn't understand.
So if you made it just a standard t-shirt or a standard polo, you can pick those up at Walmart or Hobby Lobby, and they're $3.94, $4 a piece. And they come in multiple sizes. I'm sure if we even reached out to our local Walmart and let them know, hey, we're gonna be doing this, they would probably stock up a little bit more because they have the capability to do it. And if we're making it with the standard clothes of that school, you're not having to worry about a see-through white shirt on a female or, you know, something inappropriate showing through underneath. And it also takes away the issue of access, because some of our vendors don't have hours that are available for all of our parents versus, you know, Walmart's open pretty much 24/7. Or you can order it online, or you could order it through Amazon. And so it would make it available. And then for the parents that are saying, well, I dress my kids in different clothes on the weekends, if it's a plain t-shirt, they can wear it all the time.
So the school shirt right now, what is
So the school shirt right now has the logo of that school on the front. For the elementary schools, it's just Kingman Unified School District. And then on the back, a lot of times it has their school information t-shirt. And there's variants of them. There's a ton of Spirit shirts now.
Dr. Dorner, that's not,
No,
I'm sorry.
Yep, if you don't mind.
School
We don't
shirts are
mind.
all the same. Elementary, they're blue or
great,
gray,
Great.
and they have the KUSD logo.
Right.
They don't have a qualified logo.
correct.
Shirt back.
But the spirit shirts,
Yes, spirit shirts, we have it on Friday, qualified comes Thursday.
Yep.
Then it's the qualified shirt that they make for, we used to have a ton, we used to come up with our own, and we used to have, we make them, we provide.
Right.
And the high school, they have a lot of sporting, high school youth club, a lot of sporting, teams and clubs. Those shirts
Right.
are the
Hundreds of them.
Yep.
Standard school shirt for K through 12 is blue or gray. At the high school, they can have it in the color.
Right.
White and black, but not at the elementary. But it still has the KUSD
logo.
What I understand you're saying is it would just be a plain shirt.
Yeah.
Just a
Blue or
light
gray.
blue and
Yeah.
gray and that.
Mr. Arvey, at Wallop High School, can students wear all day, every day, a pullover, outerwear over their
Yes,
t-shirt? So,
that's the struggle. For
right, so can you tell that there's even a standardized shirt?
Yeah, they can wear a jacket, any kind of jacket. Used to be they could only wear a KUSD jacket, but a lot of parents complain in elementary school, not normal.
So I would stand firmly in my observation that we don't have a standardized dress code right now. Any student can wear anything over the school shirt they want. And we even had people saying they can wear shoes and jeans and jewelry. If we're not identifying ourselves and setting each other apart, you don't know, you don't think kids can see she's got Doc Martens on and he doesn't? We're narrowing it down to a shirt. And so I'm not pro or against. I want to look at all the sides. I'm trying to use logic. If you can have Doc Martens or you can have, 99-cent store shoes, we're still going to see the difference. And we're saying, show your individuality in your bows and your hats and your jeans and your other things. And really, what are we doing? Besides saying, as long as you have that shirt on. We have a great debate now because you can put those pullovers. We have a teacher at Wallop High School that I know of who makes her kids pull up that shirt every day to prove that the school shirt's under it, but it doesn't come off all day long. So maybe, we need to look at our entire system. I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm saying we're forcing people to wear the standardized shirt and then telling them they can cover it up all day, every day on any campus.
Well, what I would add maybe to the conversation would just be when they're covering it up, they're covering it all up.
Right.
Jackets, sweatshirts, pullovers. You're not having to worry about inappropriate.
That's true.
Less amount of clothes.
I think it also, and I don't want to be in an argument with the district. I love a good debate like this. So I love everything that everybody's
Yes,
saying. So
yes,
I don't
yes.
think I'm trying to die on the hill on this side of it. I think this is a part of the democratic process where we really analyze all different sides of it. But I think it speaks volumes that the majority of the principals, 8 of them said, it's run its course. We're tired of this argument. And I would be curious on the free dress days that everybody's so excited about. If we have student uniforms and then we allow free dress days, I would love to know from the principals, how much of the see-through shirts and spaghetti dress and bare midriffs are you really arguing about on those days? Is that a
Would be good,
logical argument? Is it a reality, or is it just something we're
But
worried about in advance?
it is special on those days, and so you're not having to police the spaghetti straps and things. But if it becomes day in, day out, I wonder how much of policing is still gonna happen. Instead, it's not gonna be the school shirt, it's gonna be enforcing the
Right.
dress code.
Right, enforcing a dress code is enforcing a dress code, and I would agree it widens the parameters for the speakers who spoke, right? I would agree with you that shirt or not shirt, it's pretty easy compared to becoming a judge and jury on, are the straps too narrow, and the hate speech and all the other things, super easy. But it becomes a female fixated system, which is also a bias and a concern. So, anyway.
Madam President,
Yes.
Dr. Dorner. So you're talking legal though, if we were to run into a lawsuit, we'd lose over the uniform.
We would lose, most likely.
I'm sorry. We really are not allowed to take comments from the public. I agree. So this item was just here for discussion then, so I think we've had a good discussion.
Yep,
So
and I
we will
appreciate
be,
all the input.
be leaving it in the staff's hands then, for them to decide to
Consider.
change or not to change.
Yeah, and they may ask for another meeting that's isolated. It's all like, okay.
Thank you. So we will move on to item number 10, which is possible action to approve the IGA between MCC and the WAVE JTED in order to receive funding for the board-approved career counselor positions at Lee Williams High School and Kingman High School. We voted at one of our previous meetings to allow that partnership, and so these are the documents just stating that it is appropriate.
That's it? Okay, I'll make the motion to approve.
Intergovernmental agreement.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion by Lori Grant and a second by Star Jensen to accept to approve the IGA between MCC and WAVE to receive the funding. Is all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Number 11, this is an informational item only. This is the first reading of changes in policies as recommended by the Arizona School Board Association, ASBA, regarding policy advisory number 744, policy IGA on curriculum development. Do I pause after each one or just read them all?
No, you can read, you can just read.
Okay. Policy advisory number 745, on the policy IGD regarding curriculum adoption. Policy advisory number 746 regarding policy IJJ, regarding textbooks and supplementary material selection and adoption policies. Advisory number 747 regarding policy JLCD, regarding medicines and administering medicines to students. Regulation JLCD-R regarding medicines and administering medicines to the students. And then there is a new exhibit JLCD-EB also regarding medicines and administering medicines to students on the Arizona Seizure Action Plan.
Okay, President Henry, members of the board. The first three curriculum have to do with the fact that the textbook and other curriculum adoption committees must follow open meeting laws as per statute ARS 15721. And then on the medicines, there are some modifications to the current administration of medicines. It discusses primarily allowing students to have inhalers and antihistamines and things that they need for immediate medical purposes on their person. And then it lists some trainings that we need to have with staff so that they can recognize when someone's going into anaphylactic shock or they may be in respiratory distress, and making sure there are school personnel that recognize those things. And then one piece of it has to do with having seizure plans for students who are identified with seizure disorders. So again, it's just a
Thank you. Thank you for those explanations. Are there any questions from the board? All right, then we will move to item 12, which is the approve books that have been on display for the required 60 days that began on April 11th, 2023. And so at the elementary level, the title, The Giggler Treatment by Roddy Doyle, was submitted for approval. Are there any questions or thoughts?
I'll make the motion to approve the giggler treatment.
Before you make that motion, I actually,
Oh.
I did have a comment myself. I just thought I would read an excerpt from that book. It is an elementary book. It sounds really cute, a talking dog and some gigglers who are punishing people who are mean to students with doggy poo. So this is just one page. If you want to count the number of times the word poo is used. One page in an elementary book. It says, the smallest giggler lifted the poo off the path with the poo claw, and this was a plastic claw with a crabs that opened and closed when she pushed a lever on its handle. The middler-sized giggler held the plastic bag open for the poo. Drop the poo, said the biggest giggler. Dropping the poo, said the smallest giggler. And she let the poo drop into the plastic bag. Catching the poo, said the middle-sized giggler, and she closed the bag. Well done, said the biggest giggler. 20 pence, 20 pence, said the even smaller than the smallest giggler. And that was her big moment. She took the money from the pouch that covered her green tummy. And then the story goes on. It does sound like a really cute book. I think in a classroom, just, I don't know the fixation on the word poo. And in our classrooms, if that's really fun. I can envision, poop emojis all over the classroom. I'm not so sure on that one. That's my thoughts. I read the whole book. That was just one thing. I did not research Rodney Doyle. All right, is there any other discussion from the board? All right, then I'll entertain a motion. But this was just the giggler treatment for the elementary level for the first motion. Yes. Okay. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? I will say opposed. All right, and then we move to the next book, Fish in a Tree by Linda Mollier Hunt. Is there any comments, questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, so there's a motion by Lori Grant, seconded by Star Jensen. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, books to be used at the high school level. First title is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Is there any comments? That was one of them that they were mentioning. Young lady she started to read some of the terms wordage in the book and only stopped after two, just because of the embarrassment.
Do you want the curriculum director to read the summary of comments?
Sure.
These two books have been on display for
Totally understand.
for 60 days, and during that time there have been a few members of the public that came and spoke with Assistant Superintendent Woolsey, and so she asked me to make these concerns at this board meeting. First comment is, if students cannot speak profanity in class, why would we make them read a book that has profanity in it? In an era where people are editing and removing objectionable books and movies with socially redeeming and encouraging values such as Willy Wonka, both of these books are vile, depressing, and negative choices the teacher has made. No one under 17 should read these books. They have sexual and graphic violence in them. These books do not teach to a high standard. We do not need to promote violence in an era where students have become numb to the finality of death through video games. These books are not well written. These books are not good for our students' current situation with so many having anxiety, depression, and stress. In the book Player One, it states the following as a fact: God is as big as a fantasy as the Easter Bunny. This is not okay in our public schools. One of the books persuades people to think if you're questioning your sexuality, you must be anti-God. So those, in addition to the information that you have in your confidential documents, were comments from the public.
Any comment from the board?
I wasn't impressed with Warm Bodies at all. I bought it, tried reading it, and I didn't feel like it was at a high school level, nor did it make me thought-provoked or, challenge me in any way. There's so many better books available that I feel like we could include into our curriculum. And then Ready Player One may be a great book for, reading for fun. I don't know that it needs to be a part of our curriculum.
Thank you for the comment. Anyone else? Yes. They both mentioned both books, the content. Both of those books had offensive or explicit language and explicit sexual content. And so that was what was bringing to our attention. Would someone like to make a motion to either approve or deny those books?
I would. Second.
All right, so there is a motion by Dr. Cox to deny the usage of those books in our classroom, and a second by Lori Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I do want to commend the teacher, though. When she brought them before the novel committee, she did have some wonderful plans for usage. And I would just continue to encourage that, thinking outside of the box, and what the, how the students would be engaged in those classroom things as they're looking for books. My hope and prayer would be that publishers would come and bring student versions of some of these books that may have good storylines that our students would love to read, but yet limit the language and the sexual content in them. That would be my hope. But it takes us all to get them to change their things. So thank you guys for that. Moving on to item 13, this is an informational statement. There is a book to be displayed for the required 60 days, beginning June 13th, 2023. The novel will be used at the high school level. It is titled Slacks and Calluses by Constant Bowman Reed. That is one of our call to the public, mentioned some of the things in the subject in the call to the public. And so we appreciate that. And the book is in the back if you would like to come and check that out. Moving on to item number 14, this is discussion and potential action to approve district representatives who will participate in special education individual education plans for the 2023-2024 school year. That'll be addressed by our special education.
Hi, President Henry and members of the board. In alignment with our district's strategic plan for equitable and accessible learning, we come before you tonight to ask that you approve the district representatives who will participate in the special education IEP plans for our students. District representatives participate in an annual training prior to their names being on the board agenda to serve in this role.
Any comments or questions?
So, do these individuals, work with the special education to help them understand not the right to
Yes, they work in conjunction. It's a whole IEP team. So everyone works together. It's typically the administrators at the building and their designees who participate in the meetings in this role.
Are these individuals teachers already in a different subject area, or?
They could be administrators or they could be staff members. Some of our case managers are the district rep. Their job is to oversee and make sure that the special ed student has a free and appropriate public education.
Well, I would just like to comment that I admire special education teachers and I admire the amount of work that it takes to write IEPs and any training that we can give these individuals or any kind of assistance. I support it, sure.
Well, would you like to make a motion then to approve item number 14?
Yes, I would make a motion to approve item 14.
All right, so we have a motion by Dr. Cox to approve the district representatives to participate in the special education individual plans, and a second by Lori Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to item 15, to approve ZAG fundraising as a district approved vendor for fundraisers.
President Henry, members of the board, ZAG fundraising is a fundraiser that the schools like to use where you can buy candles, cookie dough, popcorn, jelly beans, some of those fun little snacks. Because of the amount we spend, we have to bring this to the board for approval to use the fundraising companies. So we'd like to keep ZAG fundraising as an option. We have done a little bit of spending the last couple of years due to COVID and just trying to get back to the door-to-door stuff, but we'd like to keep this as an option for the schools.
Any questions? There's a motion to accept or disapprove. Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 16, approve curriculum associates to continue as sole source provider of iReady online curriculum and assessment for fiscal year 23.
I'm sorry, that should be fiscal year 24. I'm sorry on that.
Oh, okay.
President Henry and members
members of the board, curriculum associate is an approved curriculum. What we are approving here is the spending amount because it is over our spending limit. So we would like to continue with them. It helps personalize online instruction for students from kindergarten through 8th grade. They take a assessment test and then they are given a personalized education path set up for the student based on their results. We did spend $391,000 with them last year. And again, this is approving only the spending with them.
Any other questions?
Comments?
I saw their booth at the ASB training workshop that I went to, and they seemed like a really great opportunity in training, and they love Kingman. So if there's no other comments or questions, is there a motion to accept curriculum associates? Thank you. Right, so we have a first by Dr. Cox to continue as the sole source provider of iReady Curriculum Associates. Second by Star Jensen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 17, to approve Victory Fundraising as a district approved vendor for fundraisers.
President Henry and members of the board. This is another fundraiser specifically for the high schools where we all enjoy those discount cards with all the different businesses that they sell. So we would like to continue with this one as well. They did spend $9,500 last year and increase that into this one.
Comments or questions? If not, is there a motion to approve? Okay, we have a motion to approve by Lori Grant, second by Star Jensen. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, number 18, to approve World's Finest Chocolate as a district approved vendor for fundraisers.
President Henry and members of the board, these are those famous $1 candy bars that no one can resist when little elementary and middle school kids say, "See if I win." So, easy fundraiser, we'd like to continue with this one as well. We did spend $8,885 last year.
So just a clarification, we spend that much, but they earn more back in their fundraising?
Yes, that's the amount that the district put out, and then of course they would have more on it. That's what we pay back to the company. So yes, that's what happens.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right, comments? Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the World's Finest Chocolate.
All right, so we have a motion by Star Jensen to approve and a second by Lori Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so we move on to item number 19. Approve contract renewal with the Compass Group's food service provider Chartwells from July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. This is the final year of a 5-year agreement of Kingman Unified School District Award 19-07-04.
President Henry and members of the board, this is our final year with Chartwells. We've enjoyed the first 4, and we will, with approved, go through with this last one, and then next spring we will go out for renewal, or not renewal, I'm sorry, go out for bid again and get new options with it.
All right, so we have a motion to accept the contract renewal by Dr. Cox and a second by Lori Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Item number 20, to approve district recommendation to award RFP 24-03-29 for athletic trainer services to Banner Physical Therapy. This is a 5-year award, which must be renewed each year.
President Henry and members of the board, we have had open positions for athletic trainer for several years, and just it's a hard position to fill. So we reached out, and Banner Physical Therapy put in a bid for it and was awarded. That would provide a qualified athletic trainer for both high schools, providing 40 hours during the week and as needed on the weekend if we have tournaments going on. And this is a 1-year award with an option to renew for the next 4 if the performance and funding is available.
Any questions?
No, it'll be for the whole year. It's a 12-month employee position for 40 hours a week.
I can answer Dr. Cox's question.
So according to AIA, Arizona Interscholastic Association, you have to have an athletic trainer available during practices and athletic events in case of injury. It's really important to have somebody who's qualified, who can identify, as you would know, an injury or the potential effects of an injury on the playing field. And without qualified athletic trainers on our campuses, we're really at risk. So by going with a company like Banner, who has more access to qualified trainers, and then we would in turn have access to their entire medical network, our athletes will be much safer and well taken.
Any other questions? Would there be a motion to approve? I'll second. We have a motion by Lori Grant and a second by Star to approve the district partnership with Banner Physical Therapy. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? I think that will be a great partnership. Item 21, to approve the recommendation to use the One Government Procurement Alliance 1 GPA cooperatively award contract number 21-06P-02 for roofing services as awarded to Progressive Roofing in an amount not to exceed $1,870,528.60 during the 2023-24 school year.
President, how many members of the board? I saw your eyes pop out and saw that number. So this is, one GPA is our procurement, purchasing contract, and they have roofing services available. So for both that month, the entire needed a new roof, you're going to your price that we come back with quote for approval, but because of the amount,
Yes, which schools? Does it, like, just the cost them up to? And is this the main building or is this all the buildings?
1001-1002 and 1003.
And in Golden Springs. It's been leaking since Miss Jensen.
We brought this to the board a handful of times. It is not paid out of our district funds. It is being funded by school facilities, another government agency.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, we have motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Yeah, we have to have our schools in good condition. We want our students to enjoy learning there. Item number 22, approve addition of flow-through bank account for money transactions with the KEV group.
Madam President, members of the board, in the February 2023 governing board meeting, it was approved to use KEV Group School Cash Simplified as sole source. This will allow students to use debit cards at our student stores. Funds will then be deposited directly into a district account. To ensure funds are balanced and coded appropriately, we would like to get a board approval to open a flow-through bank account to use for these credit card and online transactions. The fund left within the account would be $500 to ensure that there is always a positive balance on hand.
Any questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve? Have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, and then we move to item 23 to approve the fiscal year 24 proposed budget.
Madam President, members of the board, I am bringing you our proposed budget for FY24. The final M&O budget capacity is $52.825 million. The unrestricted capital fund is $8.521 million. The state was able to approve the budget as well as get the finalized budget files out to school districts early this year. There's a few changes that have been approved for fiscal year 2024.
First, the base level amount for the new year is $4,914.71 per ADM. This is an increase of $139.44. Fiscal year 23 was $4,775.27. Next, the state support level per route mile has also been increased. Last year, the rate was $2.83 for routes between a half a mile or less or more than 1 mile, and $2.32 for routes with more than a half a mile through 1 mile. Current rates are $2.89 and $2.37 respectively. This is an increase of 6 cents and 5 cents per route mile. There's an increase of $50 per pupil towards the classroom site fund allocation. With this adjustment, we have added over 15% budget limit capacity over prior year. This means when we discussed and approved the increase in the classroom site fund plan for next year, approved in the May board meeting, we made the right decision. The state has also approved the override of the aggregate expenditure limit, the AEL, for fiscal year 24. This is one less hurdle that we will need to worry about while closing out this year.
This is a draft budget, and then Finance Director Mulholland will bring to the July meeting, and we may have a workshop since we have a fairly new board to go over it in detail. The final budget that will be submitted, is that correct?
Correct. So this is the first draft. On the next one that I will be bringing, I will have the finalized tax rates through our county on that as well. Are there any questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 24 proposed budget? We have a motion by Lori Grant. A second by Dr. Fox. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? I think I can speak for most of us on the board. We would definitely appreciate a workshop. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. Item number 24, approve funding agreement between Mojave County and Kingman Unified School District for the summer program. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the funding agreement? Okay, we have a motion by Lori Grant. Is there a second? Second. A second by Star. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We are very thankful for that funding agreement. Item number 25. This is possible action to approve the assignment of Trevor Batt as school principal of the COLA SM PAC for the 2023-24 school year, and to authorize staff to issue an employment contract in the amount specified in the memorandum to the governing board.
President Henry and members of the board, if it's okay, I would just like to make comments regarding items 25 through 28 as they all deal with principal assignments. So the impending retirement of one of KUSD's administrators created an opening that led to other leadership position openings within the district. For items 25 through 28, we are recommending the governing board approve the following school principal assignments for the 2023-24 fiscal year effective July 1, 2023. We're excited to make these recommendations. We definitely love our grow our own program and giving people opportunities either to promote upward or to learn different things in a different environment. So our first person, Trevor Batt, is currently principal at Desert Willow Elementary School, and it is recommended that he be principal at the Sandy McCoy Positive Alternative Campus with responsibility and oversight for both PASS and COLA, which now are at that site. Penny Blattner, she is currently the vice principal at Servat Elementary School, and would like to recommend that she be moved into the assignment of principal at Desert Willow Elementary. Julie Runkle is currently the president, goodness, that too, yes, there we go, the principal. That's a big production. She's currently the principal at Surbat, and we recommend her being the principal at Los Anita Little Explorers Early Learning Center. And then Gary Scoopel is currently the vice principal at Wallapai Elementary School, and we recommend the principal at Surbat Elementary School. Staff further recommends that the governing board authorize staff to issue revised certified administrator employment contracts for fiscal year 2023-24 in the amount specified in the memo to the governor.
Any questions or comments? All right. Is there a motion then to accept the approval of all of these school principals, items 25 through 28? Okay, we have a motion by Lori Grant and a second by Dr. Cox. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, and then that will move us to item 29 and 30, which is the possible action to approve the assignment of Carla Coburn as associate principal or assistant principal at Surbat Elementary and Jennifer Cass as assistant principal of Wallapai Elementary.
Sorry, Carla Coburn as assistant principal of Surbat Elementary School and Jennifer Cass as assistant principal of Wallapai Elementary School. These are, again, these are internal promotions, so that's something exciting and to celebrate. Staff further recommends the governing board authorize staff to issue revised certified administrator employment contracts, or actually issue them certified administrator employment contracts for fiscal year 2023-24 in the amount specified in the memo to the government.
Any questions, comments?
I have a question. So individuals who are administrators, they have to have an administrative license.
They do have to have an interim principal or principal certificate to serve as assistant principal.
And so are these people normally people been teachers and then
there's various requirements that the Arizona Department of Education has to obtain the principal certification. So it's a combination of education and experience. And so for one of the folks, they already have their principal certificate, and for the other individual, this is the first step for her to be able to continue on in a leadership program and obtain interim principal certificate.
Requires a master's in addition. A master's degree is required. Correct.
Is there a motion to approve? We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? We have a second by Star Jensen. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. All right, so we'll move to item 31. Possible action to approve the recommendation to reclassify CDC caregiver lead to manager 1 and reclassify the current incumbent Michelle Frank effective July 1, 2023, and authorize staff to issue a term 12-month exempt employment contract in the amount specified in the memorandum to the governing board.
President Henry and members. So I will address items 31 and 32. So as part of the district's commitment to recruit and retain highly effective staff, recent job audits revealed the essential functions of the Kingman High School Dean of Students and Little Explorers Early Learning Center CDC Caregiver Lead have been elevated and are commensurate with the assistant principal and manager 1 classifications respectively within the district. Staff recommends the approval of the reclassification of the Kingman High School Dean of Students position to assistant principal and the reclassification of the current incumbent Alexandria Noodleman effective July 1, 2023. Staff further recommends the governing board authorize staff to issue Ms. Noodleman a revised certified administrator employment contract for the 2023-24 fiscal year in the amount specified in the memo to the governing board. For agenda item 32, staff recommends approval of the reclassification of CDC caregiver lead position at Little Explorers Early Learning Center to manager 1 and the reclassification of the current incumbent Michelle Frank effective July 1, 2023. Staff further recommends the governing board authorize staff to issue Ms. Frank a term 12-month employment contract for the specified amount in the memo to the governing board. And staff is happy to answer any questions.
And board member, Mr. Cox, this would be an example where Mrs. Noodleman completed her administrative certification after she was in the job as dean, so she now elevates and qualifies for this.
So was there not an assistant principal at Kingman High?
Yeah, the position that Mrs. Noodleman took was a vice principal prior to her taking it, and then it was changed to a dean when she took it, and then she completed her requirements. And the other reason is the district special education programs are on that campus, and she is also a special education teacher. And so the span of her duties is very autonomous, and she's running those programs.
So will the dean of students
No.
position be like eliminated?
Yes, yeah. We're not adding anyone, we're just reclassifying the one person to its original vice principal status. Thank you for asking.
Any more questions? Is there a motion to approve both items, 31 and 32?
I will make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Lori Grant and a second by Star Jensen. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, item 33. Did I read? I mean, I think I'm reading them and then you guys are repeating them, so maybe I'm doing that improperly. Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure. All right, item number 33, possible action on a recommendation to approve the funding and the creation of an administrative assistant to support the student discipline functions of the district and the family in transition program.
So President Henry and members of the board, district staff propose the creation of an administrative assistant, grant liaison and families in transition position. This position would be a classified support staff 12-month position paid at the school support core wage. The position is being requested because of the substantial increase in student disciplinary hearings and increased workload in the families in transition program. The incumbent in this position would provide vital administrative support to the parent liaison and discipline hearings officer, as well as the grants manager, and would engage with parents and students regarding needs and resources. District staff recommend the governing board approve the funding and creation of an administrative assistant, parent liaison, and families in transition position effective July 1, 2020.
And I will add, it will be what we call, and Michelle Stout can answer this, she's our grants manager, a braided funding where it's partially grant funded. We receive dollars for families in transition, and so it would be grant funded partially in the
Motion to recommend the approval to create the administrative assistant position.
I'll make the motion.
I have a first, a motion on the floor by Star Jensen and a second by Lori Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, moving on to item 34. Possible action on a recommendation to accept the resignation of Russell Delude for reasons stated in the confidential memorandum to the governing board.
President Henry and members of the board, I'd like to go ahead and talk about items 34 and 5 together, if that's okay. Fourth grade teacher Denisha Arroyo Mene and high school teacher Russell Delude have both submitted requests to be released from their 2023-24 employment contracts for the reasons stated in the confidential memo to the governing board. School administrators support releasing these individuals from their 2023-24 employment contracts. As such, staff recommends the governing board accept Ms. Mene's and Dr. Delude's resignations effective May 24, 2023, the last day of school, and release them from their 2023-24 employment contracts without the imposition of liquidated damages fees or reports to the state.
So, questions or comments? It was, they were in the packet that, the folder that Wendy, our board secretary, puts up online for us to be able to read. And it gives us some of the information behind the reasonings. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the recommendation to accept the resignations?
I will.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second by Star. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Then we go to item 36, possible action on Danny Gonzalez's request for a leave of absence for reasons stated in the confidential memorandum to the governing board.
President Henry and members of the board, under governing board policy GCCC, a leave of absence without pay may be granted an employee by the governing board at the recommendation of the superintendent for not longer than 1 year under certain circumstances and for specific purposes. Mr. Danny Gonzalez, high school physical education teacher, has made a request for leave under this policy. Information specific to his request has been included in the confidential memo to the governing board. Superintendent Dorner supports and recommends approval of Mr. Gonzalez's request. Staff recommend the governing board approve Danny Gonzalez's request for an unpaid leave of absence through the end of his 2023-24 employment contract, which was May 22nd, 2024.
Any questions or discussions? Would there be a motion to accept the action?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion on the table to request, to accept the request for leave of absence. Is there a second? We have a second by Lori Grant. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Item 37, possible action to approve the 23-24 employee work calendars and paid holidays for classified and 12-month contract employees.
President Henry and members of the governing board. So each year district staff create employee work calendars aligned with the board approved academic calendar. For fiscal year 2023-24, district staff have prepared the employee work calendars in your packet for review and board approval. These calendars specify paid and uncompensated days as well as proposed paid holidays. The calendars tend to be similar from year to year, with changes primarily driven by what day of the week legal holidays fall. Same is largely true for this year, with the following exceptions. For 2023-24, the employee work calendars for all 12-month employees, non-exempt and exempt, and non-exempt behavior coaches reflect a compressed work week of 4 10-hour days. Salaried staff may regularly work more hours and days in carrying out the essential functions of their positions. Employees paid hourly will be eligible for overtime pay as dictated by law. Depending upon business needs, supervisors may change the schedule of hourly employees to allow for work on other days of the week or days. The proposed holidays for 2023-24 are reflected on each employee work calendar. Employees will be paid for designated holidays on a prorated basis based on their regularly scheduled hours on that day and FTE, full-time equivalent, not to exceed 10 hours per day or more than 80 holiday hours in a fiscal year. Staff recommends the governing board approve the employee work calendars and proposed paid holidays as presented for fiscal year 2023-24. Staff further recommends the governing board authorize staff to issue contract addendums to 12-month term employees to reflect the difference in days as a result of the compressed work week schedule. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yes, sir. It's 80 hours max in the fiscal year. So, depending on an employee's calendar, some of the holidays may fall outside their employee work calendar. And so, the 80 is just the most that an employee working 12 months out of the year would be able to take over the course of the year. Yes. Yes, the breaks and the scheduled breaks are also included on the calendars.
12-month employees like myself, for example, we have vacation days. Directors and district office folks have vacation days and then holiday pay. So what Director Moreski is explaining, if you're a 9-month paraprofessional, you start in mid-July and you end the last day of school. 4th of July, for example, is outside of your calendar, so you wouldn't receive that holiday, but you would have Labor Day, which is inside your calendar, Thanksgiving, Christmas, President's Day. So if you're 12 months, your calendar spans all the holidays. If you're 9 months, it spans a prorated number of them.
I appreciate the spreadsheet that was compiled in our packet. It gave a good, brief, quick visual explanation of the work calendars. So is there a motion to approve the 2023-24 employee work calendars? We have a motion on the table by Roger Cox, second by Lori Grant. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Item number 38, possible action to approve new rate structure for substitute teachers for the 2023-2024 school year.
President Henry and members of the board, in January 2023, the governing board approved the first phase of an updated rate structure for substitute teachers. In the months since, district staff have continued to review the substitute teacher compensation structure for ongoing competitiveness within the marketplace and have looked at how the district might also recognize and reward longevity with the district. So given staff's analysis of the marketplace, how the data gathered fits within the district's existing pay structures and minimum wage increases, staff proposes the substitute teacher rate structure for school year 23-24 as included in your packets. Specifically, staff are proposing the rate for daily substitute teachers be raised from $120 per day and $60 per half day to $140 per day and $70 per half day for all schools except for Mount Tipton. Mount Tipton will remain at $150 a day and $75 per hour. The rate for long-term substitute teachers covering an extended teacher absence be raised from $150 a day and $75 for a half day to $170 per day and $85 per half day for all schools again except Mount Tipton. Mount Tipton will remain at $180 per day and $90 at a half day. So in addition to those changes, staff are also proposing the following additions. To encourage substitute teachers to accept more than the minimum of 1 to 3 assignments per month,
to remain in active status, staff propose an incentive of $150 per quarter for substitute teachers who accept and complete 4 or more assignments per month. Staff also propose relevant district-offered or district-coordinated paid training opportunities for substitute teachers as part of our Grow Our Own program and to ensure quality instruction for students. We also propose the addition of giving a year-end stipend to recognize and reward substitute teachers in active status who have returned year after year to the district. The proposed structure for stipends for consecutive years of service is $300 for consecutive service through year 3, $600 for 4 through 6 consecutive years of service, and $1,000 for 7 or more consecutive years of service. Staff recommends the governing board approve and adopt the substitute teacher compensation structure as presented, effective July 1, 2020. Answer any questions?
First of all, I'd like to say that I think that you're actually rewarding the substitute teachers for longevity and giving them training for. I really think that speaks highly about this school board.
Any other comments?
Overdue.
Yes. Very much so. I did have a question. So was the increases that we have here included in the proposed budget that we approved earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there a motion to accept the new rate structure for substitute teachers?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Star Jensen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lori Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Item number 39, possible action on a recommendation to provide for extra duty and bilingual services compensation for school psychologists and speech language pathologists, depending upon business needs for reasons stated in the memorandum to the governing board.
President Henry and members of the governing board, to ensure equitable access to education for all KUSD students, maintain legal compliance and federal funding, and retain current school psychologists. District staff are proposing to provide each school psychologist with a supplemental contract for up to 120 hours of work not covered within their normal contract as business needs require. This work would occur during non-contracted breaks and would be paid at a rate commensurate with each school psychologist's regular hourly rate of pay as tracked through timesheets. It is proposed we compensate the district school psychologists and speech language pathologists who utilize their bilingual skills in conducting evaluations of students whose first language is not English at $750 per evaluation if the psychologist or speech language pathologist is fluent in the language, or $375 per assessment if a translator is necessary. District staff recommend the governing board approve a supplemental contract for fiscal year 2020 through 24 of up to 120 hours as needed per school psychologist for student evaluations, and authorize the superintendent to issue the supplemental contracts to the district school psychologists. Staff further recommends the governing board approve a stipend of $750 per evaluation where English is not the student's first language for school psychologists and speech language pathologists, or $375 per evaluation if a translator is needed. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is there any test that they're having to take to determine fluency?
At this point in time, we do not have a test in place, but the bilingual piece, and this is only one part of it, I think, that we've looked at. We're going to continue to explore this area, and that could be an area that we look at.
We have talked about finding a fluency test.
Madam Chairman? Yes, Madam President. What about interpreters? That include somebody that's fluent in deaf?
At this time, no, because if we have an interpreter, that's someone we're gonna have to contract out, KUSD to have an interpreter.
Board Member Jensen, if you're talking about people we have on campus or in our schools that are helping us interpret on other occasions, or do you mean specific to?
I was talking about the psychologist on speech.
Are there any other questions? No? Is there a motion to recommend or to accept the recommendation with staff for the bilingual services compensation? Okay, we have a motion on the table by Lori Grant. Is there a second? We do have a second. Is there any other comments?
Probably needed, but who help us? We have to have, is there a guideline that the federal government established, and then we have to adhere to that guideline?
I think we're looking at it from two different angles. In the special education realm, it determines what assessment you're gonna take. So if English is not your first language, that person is gonna get an assessment in Spanish or their other language along with that English language. We have signing aids available throughout our campus that provide translation services. Interpreters are specially certified people, that do the other part.
Right.
So we have the people to do that, but this is actually us.
Special Director Trujillo, how many times in an estimation have we needed to have a bilingual school psychologist evaluation? Less than a dozen in a
Less
year?
than a dozen, I was gonna say
So
about 10.
it looks like a lot of money, but it's less than a dozen in a year because it's narrow to special education. If a student is identified as needed to be evaluated and English isn't their first language, we have to evaluate them in their language. If we don't have someone available, a typical cost for contracting someone to do it is anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000. So if we have a bilingual school psychologist and we could tap into their ability, 750 is a fraction of what it would cost to contract out. And then if they have the ability, but they don't speak the language, because we are now up to 17 languages, I believe, where we're at in our district. Then we can hire an interpreter to work alongside the school psychologist, in which case it's half the stipend because we did have to hire an interpreter.
So, does the interpreter have to be qualifications?
Yeah, the interpreter would for sure. If we're contracting out for interpreters, we would contract somebody who's identified as bilingual in that language, correct?
Just know that in medicine, the education that doesn't speak English, you have the federal guideline is you have to hire an interpreter, become an interpreter for that clinical visit. And the problem in medicine is that you can't afford to see somebody speak. It costs more for the interpreter than it does to speak. And you can make from the clinical visit. But the federal government has that guideline that requires. I'm just wondering if it's similar here.
No.
Still don't totally understand it, but I'm gonna.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. So all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Then we move to item number 40, which is a possible motion to move into executive session for ARS 38-431.03 A1 regarding personal matters listed in items 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45. So do I have a motion to move into executive session?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. All in favor? Aye. All right.
Board Secretary, Fletner, would you like to explain to the folks who are here about how we'll rotate them in?
So the board members are gonna go into the conference room. They'll have an executive session there.
I'm not sure if I
Not open for the public to hear. And then if they want, if the inside of your that are part of that agenda, if the board members please speak to those people, they will send somebody else to get those, that person to go and speak to them. Okay, and everybody else is free to go too. Okay, they won't want to, unless you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay, but sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it doesn't.
And the only thing you'll hear is the adjournment.
Yeah,
And
that's all we don't do. Except for those donations.
so, John,
You guys will approve the donation.
John Morgan is here, I think I see, and the Moons are here. Is Gina Beauchamp or Shel?